to go to speaker view.
Speaker where?
Just so that we don't need the whole collage.
Oh.
Chance to be team joining. Should be the top right, Jeremy, those like 9 boxes.
Oh, there, yeah.
Like there it is.
Whoop. This mouse is touchy, guys.
I mean, you're upside down and backwards to it.
And then you can hide all the non-video participants right there. Their screen will be like 30 from the bottom, 3.
So that would be.
Jeff, this, you know, I'm gonna, I have to pick up kids at all school at 8 o'clock, so I'll switch over.
Okay.
I'll get on phone after that.
Oh, you go full screen, right?
Yeah, I've got.
Participants.
Go to
Participants, yeah.
But you got people waiting on the lobby,
You're
Jeremy.
gonna be a pro.
Yeah, down bottom, so.
Bottom participants. There you go. You can leave that up on the screen. In middle.
Maybe just get like a review mirror.
There we go. All right. Thank you for your patience, everybody, while we deal with some technical issues getting set up. I'm gonna ask Jeremy if you can just let me see who's on. Can I have the committee members, Peter, Lisa, and Sam? Can you guys just let me know that you can hear me and that we can hear you?
I can hear you.
I can hear you, Jim.
All right, beautiful. Chuck, how about you?
I can hear you, yep.
Wonderful, beautiful. All right. So we are live in full steam. So thank you, everybody. Good evening. I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Willington School Building Committee to order. It is March 23rd at 7:04 p.m. Members present, we have Phil Stevens, Ann Grosjean, Adam Brewer, Adam Zalonis, myself, James Marshall, Jeremy Brothers, Mike McCoo's in the room, and online we have Peter Bacon, Lisa Eden, and Sam Sperry. The only member absent tonight is John Tian, who is an alternate, correct? Yes. Also with us tonight online is Chuck Warrington from Colors Project Leaders, or OPM. Thank you, Chuck. Good to see you.
Happy to be here.
So, moving right on. First up on the agenda is community forum Q&A. Public participation is encouraged. Speakers are encouraged to utilize this opportunity for dialogue with the committee constructively and will be limited by appropriateness, staying on topic, and maintaining decorum. I'll start with you gentlemen in the room and then we'll move online. Just identify yourself for the record. Thank you, sir.
Willington. Have a letter that I published to this committee. Sure, let's go on, but on the record.
Sure.
I'll skip over some of the introductory stuff. Obviously, many folks. Okay. Many folks know me. I'm been involved in town affairs for a long time, currently a selectman, but I'm not here speaking in that capacity at all. It is as a taxpayer and a fairly informed individual who's concerned about where things are going. I've been through both schools. Compared to today's educational mindset, I probably only got a rudimentary education. I would disagree with that, but I went on to Wyndham Tech, graduated from there. 6 years after that, moved to the University of Hartford. I actually, in order, got my Connecticut BE license and then my bachelor's. And I had been licensed in 10 states as a civil engineer, structural engineer, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, I want to thank everybody involved on this committee for the thankless job of doing what you have to do to reinvigorate our K-8, pre-K to K-8, or pre-K to 8 schools. Sorry. I think everybody recognizes it's necessary. But I think there's also a lot of folks who feel our educational system needs reinvigorating as well. Because it's not the buildings that teach, it's what happens inside the buildings that teaches. So I've looked at the enrollment study and I hope that everyone on this committee has really digested not just the current enrollment study, but the previous enrollment study. Because when you look at the projections from 2022, they're vastly different than the 2025 enrollment study. And attached to my letter, which you all will get a copy of, I've superimposed both enrollment studies, one graph, along with student populations and, in addition, birth rates, because they all kind of work together. And when you look at the 2022 projections, the variance between, yes, the 2022 report that was done, the projections for 22 through 25, the variance between what was projected and what the actual enrollment was deviates by as much as 41 students. And this as few as 18. For going to the second enrollment study, for 26 and 27, or excuse me, the difference between the 22 enrollment study and the current one, for 26 and 27, the difference is phenomenal. Where the 2025 studies way down on the bottom in enrollment, yet the 2022 projections much higher. And then in a couple of years, bang.
Ralph, are you still referencing the old set of?
I've got both referenced here, so. I understand we need to plan for the future. I get that. We need to conservatively plan for the future in a way that doesn't hurt our system. I was surprised. I did some research on the number of births in Willington, and for 2025, it was 51, believe it or not. But when you go back and look at previous years, it's all over the place. You know, from us, and I have those numbers on here too. But one thing missing from the 2025 enrollment projection, if this committee chooses to go with a birth to 5 to get the extra 15%, the enrollment study doesn't cover that. It starts at pre-K. And I'm a little concerned about that. Okay. Right now, the state is dealing with housing. And there are challenges. And we may wind up being told that we're going to develop some number of affordable housing units in Willington. I don't know how that's going to be accomplished. But the other challenge for Willington is vacant land that's available and suitable for subdivisions. Having been on planning and zoning for 15 years and been here all my life, I know the town very well. And the parcels, the vacant parcels that have subdivision potential are not very attractive because there's no roads. There's no terrain suitable to really do something. You have to do a lot of site work before you can even develop a lot and sell it. So there's a cash flow issue there for developers. There's too much upfront money. So I don't know where all of these kids are going to come from. But I also have a chart of population starting, believe it or not, in 1800 to current. So you can see what happened after World War II. But the problem with trying to project into the future, what's the population going to be? The state of Connecticut has never done a good job with the town of Willington. They have always over-projected the population. We saw this when I was on a previous plan of conservation and development. We took the state's numbers and cut them in half. And that's what went into our report. We didn't even hit that. There's 3 overlapping years here between actual population and projected population, and those projections are over what we have. And I ask a lot of questions in here, and I'll save some of the details for you in the letter. I would hope you would read it. But we're primarily a community of single family homes. with some exceptions on the southern part of town. So where are we gonna get all these kids to go to school? I don't know. So. The spec was based on pre-K to 8, not birth to pre-K. That would give us extra 15%. That's great. But to catch. We get an extra 15% on construction. We do not get anything for the 10 years that we have to maintain that program. That's coming out of taxpayers' pockets. So keep that in mind. The previous school plan got rejected, from my perspective, primarily because of the tax burden. And what was not clearly shared with voters. And it just wasn't complete. And there were some other miscues that I will not delve into. Anyway, I hope you consider all this. Regarding addendum question number 8. Several options for the creation of a consolidated school project are to be explored and considered, including a renovation/addition project at the existing mall school, new construction on a HMS site, and new construction on a new site. All of these options to allow the town of Willington to make an informed decision on what, if any, consolidated school project to move forward with. One answer question that I have there is who decides? This committee or the taxpayer? And I'd like you to keep in mind too, the best solution for Willington may not necessarily be the least costly. And preserving Willington's legacy building and our connection to our past is extremely important to many residents. I'm one of them. And I think I know many others that are too. And again, I haven't said this word for word, and I'm not very good at speaking and I'm not very good at reading to approval. So it's all in here. But I want to thank everybody for getting involved in this because it's a challenge. It's a challenge for Phil, it's a challenge for the Board of Ed. More importantly, it's a challenge for this committee to come up with something that is going to be palatable, affordable, and work for this community. And that, I shut up.
Thank you. As you want me to pass these out? Yeah, that's fine, or you can do it all, or just you're gonna write. Yeah, so what I will say, Ralph, you raised several very good points that we're all very cleanly aware of. I know for sure.
I'm not
What
here to be super critical.
What I will say, just to clarify, is the enrollment projections that we did get were done by a professional demographer.
I understand.
And I know you understand that. The other thing to consider is that the higher those numbers are actually advantageous to Willington and our reimbursement rate, as we currently understand it. With that said, we are evaluating all of that now that we have consultants on board, to really determine how to right size this project, for best advantage all around, from a tax reimbursement percentage to planning for future need as necessary. But these are all mandated state requirements as well, so. This aspect needs to align with projections. And we are doing our best to manage that. What I will also say is we are going to be very cognizant of budgetary projections. It's been on an agenda item, you know, what consolidation of services looks like from a recurring budgetary perspective. The pre-K piece will be a part of that. The reality is, I think 15% of construction costs, if that can be capitalized, is going to far surpass any long-term recurring debt or an increased program need should there be one, but we're not there yet, and we're definitely evaluating what that impact is so that we can present that full financial picture. So we are aware of all of these options, and we're trying to work for you. So, anything else?
Something, Ralph, we're already bound by state law to provide a program for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds with special needs. The other half of that class is our model students, our regular students from town. And I foresee before 10 years, we'll have universal pre-K, where the state will ask that we provide a program for all 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. I'm guessing that that's going to happen probably. So we'll be a little bit ahead of the game if in fact that does happen.
As far as right sizing, I get that, and I will certainly advocate for maybe lower capacity in the core facilities, but not necessarily in the classroom space. And configure a building such that it's a simple matter to add 2 to 4 classrooms at some time in the future. If you handle your utilities correctly, or like Center School has a tunnel underneath the court, Fall School still has somewhat of a corridor or a utility tunnel under the pool zone. It's still there, Phil, and I haven't been in there in several decades, so. But I know that spot. When you construct that way, it gives you a lot of flexibility for a school. But it also gives you flexibility for reuse of that building. And I'm thinking Center School to North Wing, it would be outrageously challenging to turn that into apartments or some kind of housing, because of the fact that you've got this ability to reconfigure plumbing, the electrical program.
Well, can you clarify, you were talking about the pre-K numbers, you were talking about birth for pre-K. Your point was that what was missing, study,
What all the crowd started with pre-K.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming was 5-year-olds.
So you're saying the projection is only pre-K.
It doesn't go early with
pre-K, right? So he's got the births in there, but he's only projecting class size, that's you. For pre-K.
Yes, but starting at nursery school, not at birth. I have the birth numbers.
Yeah, I'm with you now. I just want to make sure I understood.
I charted the birth numbers and they're all over the place. You have the annual births, they're up, they're down. It's like 2025, I just got the number today, it was 51. Last year it was 38, something like that. So it's challenging to predict into the future. It's easier with hindsight to look at what happened. And you try to extrapolate
Consistency.
It's,
51 is a fairly large number, right? I mean,
Well, that is a second here.
classrooms.
how many of these births are grad students are finishing up at UConn, and when they're done, so are the kids, they're gone. Because they're gonna go where the work is. And there's no demographic to tell us that.
Yeah.
You know, how many of those kids that are born in Willington stay in there? We don't know.
True, good point. Being cognizant of time though, I do want to add, I just want to make sure other people have an opportunity.
Fine.
We can always circle
I
back.
don't know, Lisa has.
Oh, Lisa, I'll let you, sorry, Lisa, I didn't see.
Yeah, no, just quickly, Ralph, I appreciate your points. One thing that you mentioned that I do think that I think this is a conversation that's come up a bit kind of here and there, but I think something that the committee has to grapple with sooner than later is kind of our intentions around what decisions will be made by the committee versus what will be presented to the town to vote on. And so I think this is where you're going, Ralph, and your point on would the town decide, do we want to do renovations versus a new school? I think some of the conversations that we've had though are about, and anyone else please jump in if I'm wrong, that the idea is that the committee through this process would kind of make the best decision for selecting an option that the town would vote on. But it's also, I think it's very much a living and evolving conversation. And I'm just glad you brought it up tonight, because I do think that the committee as a whole kind of has to grapple with this sooner than later. Would we, essentially, are we presenting multiple options to the town, or a single option that has been determined to make the most sense based on the information that we've gathered throughout this process?
Good point. And what I will say is it really is gonna be relying upon the community giving us feedback and engaging in this process as these options are presented and developed by the
Right.
committee. Ultimately, the best of our working knowledge from the professionals that we've just onboarded, and past experience, for a grant application, you will have to define a single project.
Right.
How we get to that point is gonna really rely on feedback from individuals such as you and everybody listening online. It's our job to develop all of those options as comprehensively as we can and present them to you so that we can have that discussion, and so that we can get the community to weigh in.
I think that's the key point right there, and that was intended to be written into the charge.
Yep.
And it's been in all the conversations with the consultants we're hiring to make sure that that is recognized, the need to present enough information about the different options that the public can get a feel for what is appealing to the public and approvable.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel that you get the best chance of, what's gonna pass referendum is we have to have options, present options, what we can do, what our analysis is, the costs, benefits, present that to the town, see what their feedback is, get a vote, whatever, get that data. Need to get that information so that we can then determine what we think the best application would be for going forward. Otherwise, if we try to vote on something or try to put something forward that the town won't support, well, that's just a waste of time. So.
Been there. I was on the previous, you know, the challenge here is public engagement. And if you follow YouTube, the videos that go up on YouTube, you may see 3 people sitting on the side. But what you really should be looking at is the number of views of that video, because that tells you a little bit more. But still, even when you look at the number of views of any recording of any meeting, participation by the people who are going to vote yea or nay on this is minimal.
We have
That's
people who
where
still
the
want to speak, and we're almost out of time.
We are conscious of that for sure. Let me finish up in the room. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Peter Wilson, Judge 97 Trask Road. Some of this may be a bit redundant, but I have 3 questions, one on process, one on scope, and one on cost. My process question was just discussed in a sense. When I attended the joint meeting of all the boards in the library at Jericho approximately, my understanding was that there was going to be a referendum question that was explained by Representative Joe, the other board chairs, where there would be 3 choices for the town to consider. One was just willing to say, the second was a hybrid new school renovation on the wall site, and the third was a neither of the prior 2. I suppose that's a question opting for repairs, which would not be reimbursed, so unlikely choice, but is that still operative? That
It may be. It's the.
That was,
We're not.
that was
there
just
yet.
a speculative.
Yeah.
That was a speculative thing. I think we have a lot of different ways it could end up getting to referendum. So it's gonna grow as we go through these next few weeks, months, whatever.
And that's why we've onboarded the consultants to help us manage that process. And
I hope
while
it's-
remaining compliant with.
I hope it's more than just speculative. I thought Senator Gordon made a really good point there. He's kind of an unbiased observer of all this. That's important for the townspeople to have a role in decision-making process.
Agreed. The mechanism for that, whether it's in a single referendum or whether it's in advance of referendum, whether the town chooses, all options are still on the table. We're only just beginning that development process.
Good to hear. My sense of the discussion I've heard so far is that given the timeline that you're moving towards a single proposal that present to the town, so I'm glad to hear that that's not true. My second question is on scope. And Brown touched on this, but I'm concerned about scope creep. And this addition now of taxpayer funded daycare in our school facilities. I didn't see that in the chart. I understand pre-K, we've always had pre-K, as Ann just spoke about, but it seems like that is a step forward to a whole other realm of scope and cost that's not even related to your charge, other than, I guess, it provides this additional 15% reimbursement. But what are the implications of that? But that's a serious concern to me. And then my last question is on cost itself. Are you folks at this point using a placeholder for what the rough cost of this project is in its final form? Or is that still open-ended? We're in the budget season now. We're all trying to understand all the budgets of all our towns, of all our boards and departments. And I think everyone wants to see what the total impact would be this year, including a capital school project.
So unfortunately, the timing, given the makeup of this committee and when we got engaged, this budget season is not factored in. What we are endeavoring to get for everybody, is what taking the budget season development that what the town ultimately decides on and passes as a budget. Using that to understand what the impact of the school project will be moving forward. I think it's what we're looking at realistically, because the nature of it will have a budget long before, or hopefully not too far from now. I don't know where you're.
Well, and I think,
But-
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that what is already built into the budget that is already being worked through the budget process would not change. Let's assume that the town comes to agreement, there's a referendum passed with, the townspeople are agreeable to what comes forward and it's passed. That would not, the budget that we're working on for this coming fiscal year is already in place. I don't think there's any likelihood, not impossible, but I don't think there's any likelihood we'd be going back to the voters during the coming budget year and saying we need to change the budget. So I think there's no change in impact.
I understand what you're saying, but would it be reasonable for, say, a resident like myself to look at the documents superintendent has from OQ&M for what they were budgeting, the potential, you saw those at that meeting last year.
What I will say is that.
Would that be a reasonable cost for a reasonable person to look at, recognizing what Mike says, that the budget process will be done, and then we can have this additional cost as taxpayers that we don't know what it is, but can we at least use those numbers to understand it?
I think that would be misleading.
The short answer is no, largely because I know those numbers were based on prior studies. They probably don't match.
They were based on different enrollment, they were based on different square footage, they were based on different reimbursement rates.
But what I will say is we're hoping, given our time frame, if things stay on track within the next 2.5 to 3 months, we will have a much better picture, and probably in advance of that, some rough order of magnitude numbers that we'll start to get the community's engagement with. Bearing in mind, we only just onboarded our architectural team last week. And we've got an NRPM for 2 weeks. We got them on board as quickly as possible, but they need time to get this process started. So we are working as aggressively as we can, but this project specifically will not impact current year's budget discussions.
Right.
What we will present, what we have to as a committee present to the voters is what the impact of any future project would be to the budget moving forward. That's the best, I think.
Which likely would start to affect the taxpayers July 1 of next year, possibly, in that budget.
Yes.
Right. And just one comment on the scope thing, just for clarity, the conversation about pre-K is not taxpayer funded daycare. That is a misnomer. It would be early childhood education, which has specific requirements, criteria, educational format, and all that kind of stuff. It wouldn't be taxpayer funded day.
That sounds incredibly ambiguous.
Yeah, I had the same question. And I wanted, right, Phil's talking about trying to get some more information from the, state on that. We need that information to determine space needs, operational stuff, and that's for numbers. So, in the decade.
It starts at age 3, there's no question there. Yeah, it is not birth. That's-
Yes, thank you also. Yes, so it's, right, it's not previous to 3 years old.
And that outreach is ongoing with the Office of Grant Administration, trying to determine what those requirements are so that we can relay that back to the town and see how it impacts the project. All right,
I think we should get to Nancy.
we should be on one more online, and I'm gonna jump because it's about our half-hour limit. Nick Tellett.
You tell it Murder Road. I had 3 points, and one, I was surprised. I haven't been involved, so obviously you guys know much on this, but I found it interesting that Anne was put on the SBC after though she was going around putting things on mailboxes on the last thing. Just find it weird that the ethics part of that would allow somebody to be on a board, knowing that she was doing that, which everybody there was knew that. The other thing was in the previous on November 9th of 2022, if I'm correct on the year, Phil had a presentation which stated about the combining of schools and saying that there would be over 500,000, I want to say $544,000 in savings. 422,000 of that would come from staff reductions. I know during Board of Education meetings and such, the school has stated that we cannot get rid of staff. It's impossible, and this and that. It's it's not happening. It's just weird that if we combine the schools, you can do that. So to me, maybe that's somebody that would be roaming. So are we going to get rid of principals that would roam between schools? Now we can isolate to one. Who are those staff that's been identified? I mean, I know Phil's making $180-something thousand, and his wife's making $100,000. I don't know where these numbers can come from, but maybe you guys can touch upon that. And then my last point here, I know Mike during a town meeting stated that we would be looking at all options, and then the tone during one of the meetings I went to was that they were not going to look at maintaining the schools. Tonight I heard Ralph talking, and it didn't sound like there was discussion about maintaining the schools off of whatever he was reading. So are we truly looking at all numbers or not? Because it seems like the people, the powers that be, are kind of bullshitting people, right? So I'd like to know, are we looking at truly all options, and such as maintaining the school? Thank you.
All right. First, I do just want to say I would encourage everybody to try to keep this from being disparaging, particularly to members on the committee. So I acknowledge your questions. If it starts to get disparaging, that's just not necessary and not called for. But to try to address some of the questions related to that, what we've asked the Board of Ed as a committee to start looking at, and Bill, I know you're going to take that up with the Board of Education, looking at what the potential costs by operational cost savings there may be through consolidation and through eliminating what duplicated services may happen. What duplicated services we have by having 2 separate schools now that might be more economically done in a single building with efficiency of service. That is very different than cutting staff, at least in my mind, to serve the programs we have now. And that is one of the primary advantages of consolidation. Is really, in my opinion, it's probably going to be the only way we meaningfully see opportunity for long-term budgetary reductions in the Board of Ed budget, by capitalizing on efficiency, by getting everybody under one roof, and economy of scope. But those conversations, it is definitely on our task list as part of the overall budget picture, but that is something that the Board of Ed is continuing to work with so that this committee can factor it into our expectations. And then by way of cost, considering all options, what I will say is this committee is tasked with developing a consolidated school proposal. It's in our chart, it's time and time again. We are not developing costs to repair the existing buildings or maintain them, because that has already been done by the Board of Ed. What we are going to do as a committee is compare the costs of multiple consolidated school options and compare them with the costs of repairs and maintaining our existing buildings. That's why we're here. Because those costs, as identified, are incredibly burdensome to this town, and I don't know how this community manages it, but we are going to take the numbers in that work as a counterpoint to so that we can understand what the delta is and what the difference is from this committee's projects that are developed, and compare it to what those costs would be if we can't get a consolidated school proposal through. So
I'd just like to clarify that because I was part of some of those comments, as Nick pointed out,
Sure.
And to sort of simplify what you just said, Jim, is we as a committee are not going to spend time delving into the numbers of that other option because it is already known, as you said, and it's known well enough for us to spend the time delving into the options we need to and being able to compare it. So it's not that we're ignoring that cost, and it's not that we aren't going to talk about it. We're just not going to spend time delving into it because we already know what it is well enough to make for the public to be able to make good judgments. And we already know what the reimbursement system is for that type of work. So we're not ignoring those numbers. We will discuss it, but we're not going to spend time reanalyzing them all. We're just going to look at how they compare.
I think the tax impact of what this CapEx projects would be is an important comparative point.
It's well more than the previous plan that failed in referendum to build a new school. Yes.
So that is a comparative point, saying if we do nothing, you still have to fix the roof. We still have pay insurance on 2 sites. That's operating costs, we don't have it, but you know, parking lot, maintenance, all that sort of stuff. Those, what that CapEx impact will be to tax and mill rate versus our proposed projects or options. So that's, you know, we have to compare it.
May I just follow up on that question just real quick? So there's going to be a group of people that the numbers that were at one point sent out from the Board of Education, many people feel as though those numbers were drastically overinflated. So how does the SBC counter that then?
When we have it all in front of us, we'll be able to talk about it, and I think it's order of magnitude so high that it's going to be very clear. Even if the numbers were overinflated, which I am sure they were not, it will be so big a cost difference that it won't matter. It could be half and it would probably still cost more.
So yeah, I think a lot of that discussion is prioritization of the work and urgency of repairs, and differing people in town having differing viewpoints on what needs to be prioritized in repairs and what doesn't. I think that prior work, if I remember correctly, has 5 different phased implementations, ranking in order of priority. I think when all is said and done, even half that picture is probably going to be a significantly different and higher financial burden than any consolidated project is likely to be. But once we have all of this complete picture, we'll lay that out for the town as best that we can. So.
The other thing is a large amount of that will not be reimbursable by the state. There will be a few things like the roof, but a large amount of it will not be.
All right.
And that is online.
Thank you, Phil.
Follow up, just
Very quick, Ralph, you took a lot of the time before,
Yeah, we are.
and
we
we're
are
way
running
over
past our 30
timeline.
minutes, and we
We're
have
supposed to cut it off at 7:30.
I think it was a relatively important question with respect to reimbursement rates, that's all. So where do we start and how do we add to the reimbursements? What's our starting level?
79 point, or whatever it is, yeah.
Is it 64? No, plus 50. Plus 50.
78.33.
we're not gonna, I'm gonna cut that off now because just throwing out numbers speculatively, we're not there yet. We will have those numbers as we get better competition. There'll be plenty of opportunity to have that discussion. Thank you. Okay, thank you, everybody, thank you for engaging. That's what I honestly hope this becomes, with hopefully many more people in the room to do so. So thank you very much for attending. Any comments?
Actually, copies.
Perfect, thank you. I will get this scanned in and distributed to the committee for the record. Thank you, Rob. All right, moving on to approval of minutes. First up, we have approval of minutes from our March 9th, 2026 regular meeting. It should be next up in your packets. And hopefully you've all had a chance to read them, but if you have, do we have a motion?
I can make a motion for the March 9th.
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Brothers, just for the recording, Mr. Brothers made a motion to approve the minutes, and was it you, Adam?
Yes.
Adam Brewer seconded. Any discussion? I will just say, tell by the length of these, Lisa does a great job capturing this, the recording secretary, so thank you, Lisa. All right, hearing no further comments. Any other comments? Look up the screen every now. All right, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes for March 9th, please say aye.
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 All right, any nays? Abstentions? All right, that's unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to the special meeting minutes from March 12th, 2026. Which was in the second set of information, because I got it done late for you. There we go. So that's definitely back there. Thank you.
That we approve the March 12th, 2026 minutes.
I will second that. Any discussion on those minutes? That was the special meeting for architectural engineering services interviews.
I know I was absent, but I did get to see the video that was forwarded to me by the selectman's office. So
Perfect.
just
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for watching that. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Online? Peter?
Aye.
Uh,
Aye.
was that Sam? Sorry. Sam, try again.
Oh. Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes. Did you vote? Sam, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I said aye. Sorry, my phone's having a hard time for some reason.
Oh, thank you. All right, another one unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Last up, we have our minutes from special meeting on March 16, 2026. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes of March 16, 2026.
Thank you, Pam. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Anna Brewer got that one. Thank you very much. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I can catch you. All right, thank you. 1 to 2, that was unanimous. Thank you very much. No ayes, no nays, no abstentions. All right. Thank you, everybody. Chair report, I will try to be very brief, just give you all an update on some recent events. First off, I think it's included in your packet, but we officially have a copy of the recorded hall deed. So that process is complete, which is great. So thank you to Mike and the selectmen.
And mostly the whole foundation.
And the Hall Foundation, of course, as well, for being willing to engage. And for being willing to understand the importance of getting this resolved so that we can try to advance this successfully. So that is free and clear with the previously noted restrictions of maintaining Hall Foundation name on the property. With whatever comes, so that's great. Secondarily, we have the working group meetings. We did hold a kickoff meeting with Tecton Architects this Wednesday at our working meeting with Colliers project leaders, just to get them rolling and up to speed very quickly so that they can start to engage with this committee. They have done that, so that was Wednesday the 18th, and then on the 20th, they had a dedicated meeting with Phil, and I attended myself as well, and our OPM at Colliers project leaders to review the ed specs and give them the opportunity to fully understand the ed specs as written, so that they can then follow up and suggest any modifications as necessary that would be in the best interest of the project. What I will say is Tecton has been really great, engaging quickly, and they are working to get that going. And then there was one other note. Yes, the Office of Grant Administration, we touched on it a little bit already, but I will just say we are working, and Phil and Colliers is working with some outreach to the Office of Grant Administration about trying to nail down better clarity on the early education reimbursement piece, as well as school construction costs, regulatory guide variabilities. Yeah, variabilities for pending legislation, which is what is driving our schedule for June 30th of this year. All in the hopes of having a better understanding so that we can adapt accordingly. And also so that we can understand if there's any schedule implications or the ability to allow for additional schedule duration before we have to present a project without losing reimbursement eligibility, which is the key piece. So we are working as hard as we can, but sometimes those answers are not the easiest to come by, but we are continuing to diligently try to get them. And with that said, that's all I got this time, Dave. Everything else will be addressed shortly. So we're gonna move right along to new business and owners project manager coordination. So with that, Chuck Warrington is online. Scott Coleman, who's been with us the past couple of meetings, was unable to attend today. Chuck, welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Sorry, Scott couldn't attend. He had a conflict, but he'll be back shortly. I guarantee you that. So, but hopefully I'll fill in adequately for you in Scott's stead here. I hope, but yeah, I met with Scott. Obviously, we've only been going for a couple of weeks. Good to see you all, by the way. And again, thanks again for bringing us on board. Jim did a great job of kind of updating over the last week or so the activities. There's obviously been a lot of activity bringing Tecton on board, getting them up to speed. We've worked with them in the past, so they've been great partners on other projects. So I don't expect anything different from them, given that for that. So we thought I'm sending a request to share, but I don't know if everybody has the milestone schedule in front of them. I was gonna.
They do. There are two copies. One, so I had sent the one that the latest that I had when I sent this material out this week. It was updated this afternoon. So the one dated 3/23 is the current one. which
sure.
on the screen currently. But yes, everybody has your latest and greatest, and I would just say, replace conversion dated, I think 317 in your packets. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is again our working plan between now and basically the end of June. This will be a live document. Scott's probably opine. We're gonna modify this as we keep moving and update with more accurate dates and give you these updates as we move along. But if anybody's gone through it so far, you can see I'm just scrolling through it. There's a lot of activity between now and the end of June, so we want to make sure we lay these out so that when you have to make decisions and that we're delivering in a timely manner from the project team for that. So here we are, March 23rd. As Jim mentioned, there's a meeting with the superintendent to review the ed specs with Tecton. In your packet that was sent out, there are some notes that Scott Pellman provided. I won't go through those, but feel free to read that in the packet. And if there's any questions, please let us know. But there is a update to the ed specs was due today from Tecton to the superintendent. I wasn't copied on the email. I'm sure it's come through or might be coming through this evening, most likely. For that.
It came through late. I haven't even looked at it yet, but
All right. That's what I figured. They usually come in later in the day. So that's moving forward. Good to see that. I think we have an action item. We do have a proposal from Langen Engineering for the phase 1 environmental site assessment.
Yeah,
later.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. We did, this committee approved that proposal last Monday at our meeting.
Oh, okay, beautiful. All right, excellent.
Scott was forwarded that communication. Mike, I don't know if the selectman's office has had a chance to authorize that officially.
I haven't had anything to authorize, like nothing's, we have letters of intent in place for Colliers and Tecton, but nothing for Langen or anything yet.
All right, I'll forward that to you again.
Unless it's something that I missed, but I went back through all my emails today, as you saw.
All right, I'll double check. If I didn't get it to you, then that's on me, but
I'll take care of it right away.
I will. Yeah, so we had approved it as a committee. We authorized to have that work done, the ESA for the Hall Foundation. All school property. Thank you.
Yep.
I'll
try to look while you're talking.
Yeah. So that should be good to go. We just got to get that officially authorized, but we have approved it as a committee, so it's just a matter of signing that agreement. Okay.
Excellent, perfect. Okay, well, check that box. That's good. So that's moving along quickly. And then basically once obviously the ed specs, those modifications are relatively I'll say accepted by the working group and the superintendent. The Tecton will start looking at the different options and doing building massing on the site in layouts for high level concept planning. And then over the next couple of weeks, they're going to be working on that. Later in the week, again, the working group on Wednesday, as Jim had mentioned, there's a site visit scheduled for the end of this week on Friday by Tecton over at Hall. And then really, I think the next really milestone is Tecton's going to be working on their work, and there's going to be a lot of work in progress. And the initial project option concepts is due April 8th. That's probably the next key date, is to see what they come up with. They'll get reviewed by the working group. And then on April 13th, reviewing some of those options. So that's probably our first deliverable coming up in the next couple of weeks. That's really, really important to drive this program for that. On April 14th, any looking to do an approval of a revised ed spec. That's at least that's the plan for that, for there. But we'll have those revisions incorporated into the options as they're developed. And the key thing is we want to know what the square footage impact is for the budget, because that drives about 65% of your budget, the building footprint. And then as you can see, there's a lot of other options if anybody has questions. But as the options develop, we'll start developing budgets for the options. Tecton will develop budgets. We're going to review those. We do those all the time. developing the total project budget, which is obviously very important. The estimated district shares that we've talked about in the past, applying those reimbursement rates. Also, I don't know, we'll also start developing cash flows because that's going to inform the town of if the project's executed on a certain timeline, how much are they expected to pay out for all of the construction activities, design activities, and in those cash flows, we'll also include an estimated district reimbursement, assuming if we go to referendum in June, having a grant commitment coming up shortly, and we can submit those costs. So we'll include that in the cash flow so that as the finance department, they can look at what's going out, but also what's expected to come in. So the high reimbursement rate, that's going to have a huge impact on the cash flow.
Chuck, while you're on that, if I'll interject with a question. So will that, you'll help us understand or be able to gauge the impact or how we leverage what savings we have potentially as part of that cash flow?
That is correct. Yeah. So based upon, and again, more on the conservative side for the reimbursements and your reimbursement rate in the cash flow each month. And you can basically you can request reimbursements every 2 to 3 months, more on the 3 month time frame. But yeah, we'll put in a rough idea of what we'd expect based upon what you're paying out, what you would get. So that way, instead of having to take out a large borrowing or maybe short-term bonding or whatever have you, short-term notes, hopefully that cash flow from the state will help you minimize that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So looking at the schedule for the week ahead, this is really focused on ed specs. So we had, Bill, I haven't had a chance to look at whatever was sent today, but I will, I'm sure we'll review that again on Wednesday with the Tecton team. We had talked when we met on Friday about Tecton being before the Board of Education on Monday, the 30th, to review having a dedicated meeting with the Board of Education to go over their recommendations for the ed spec. It was suggested, and I think agreed by both, that it might be a good idea for it to be a joint meeting with this committee. Bill, I don't know, I know, at least Brown as chair had, so that's a good idea. Did you guys discuss time?
We have a big group that can make it.
Okay.
6:30 PM is what we're shooting for.
So this is, and again, what I will say is this is, the ed spec is the Board of Ed's action item. Our consultant is making recommendations for optimizing that space. While it's not an action item for us, I think it's important that we at least be up to date on those conversations, particularly as something advances down the line. We need to understand how this all developed.
Sorry, it's another one of the phones, sorry.
So assuming this, how do people look for Monday, trying to maintain kind of the schedule to keep the architect moving with the design? Yeah, a week from today. Yeah. 6:30?
6:30.
Jim, I have school things, I have to go do it. I'll try to get back on the phone, and I did find the email and I've emailed it back to you.
Okay.
For the Lincoln thing.
Thank you. All right.
I have an agenda ready to go. I just gotta check it with Brianna tomorrow. And then I'll share it with you so that my Zoom, you can just go off with my Zoom, you don't have to worry about anything else. I can just type in school building committee and post it.
We can, yeah, well, I'll circle back with you and talk through the logistics of recording minutes and all that fun stuff. Yes. I haven't had to deal with the joint meeting yet.
No, we did it.
Although
We can do it.
Beautiful. Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yes.
We can probably do it here because we won't ever.
We'll have that soon, so.
Tables.
Okay. So Chuck, it sounds like we're gonna be all systems go for a joint meeting a week from today with the Board of Education and Tecton to review updates to the ed spec and their recommendations.
Okay. Yep. So I think, yep, that Scott had that earmarked for Is it
So
a week from
30th.
today, right? March 30th?
Yeah, he's got it in here.
Yep. Just double checking. Yep. Sounds good.
Perfect.
Um,
And it sounds like I'll have a Langen piece over to you by tomorrow.
Perfect.
Phase 1 ESA.
Yeah, we'll reach out, get them going right away. Those usually maybe take a couple weeks to complete. They'll get right on top of that. So for that, and then I know Scott received a list of potential other sites to consider. I know he earmarked for Wednesday for completing initial review potential sites. Again, with that, when we look at the sites, we're going to be looking at not only size of the site, acreage, looking at topography, wetlands, anything that could impact development of the site at a high level. Many times we can review a site, just virtually, and make a pretty good determination of whether it's, is it realistic or viable for a project of this size with it. So Scott has that earmarked for Wednesday.
Okay. And just to clarify for everybody here at the table, that was Jeremy, that list that you guys had developed as kind of the working group. That's what was sent to Scott. That's what he has and what he's looking at initially. But he's also doing another look at the past ones again. Although you've whittled that down, I suspect.
I didn't put him on the list, yeah.
So,
I have some updates on that.
He just looked at it, he had some updates to it, which I can forward to you guys, or.
send to me and we'll get it to Scott just for his supplemental info, so that he has the latest and greatest. Perfect. All right, so do you need anything else from us? Beyond that, you don't need anything else from us at this time for that initial assessment that you're aware of, Jeff?
Not that I'm aware of. If Scott needs anything, he'll reach out, I'm sure, and we'll get the additional information.
All right. Any questions from the group at large? We are starting to get full steam ahead here, guys. So,
No.
all right. Chuck, any other thoughts, questions, concerns from your perspective that we won't be able to address from now until next week? Or Wednesday?
I know there's been questions on the proposed legislation, that questions in with OGA. Scott and I talked about those project, the cost per square foot in the building, if it's what we expect it to be. And of course, await their response, but based upon the values they incorporate in those studies compared to what we've been carrying for budgets for project costs, the initial evaluations, we don't see there being a problem, because they had, I think it's $519 a square foot for just the building alone. If that is the answer from OGA, we've been budgeting about $450 a square foot for elementary, middle school, for this type of facility, just for the building square foot alone without escalated costs. So if that holds true from what we see, we're cautiously optimistic on that with that pricing.
Yeah, so those, I sent, you guys all received that email, right? About the discussion of the square foot cost. Yeah, so really what's driving that is the potential ability to extend the schedule if we can get clarity on confirmation of that square foot cost and whether or not it allows a little bit more leeway, whether or not that June 30th date is really a trigger that's going to cripple us from a potential reimbursement rate. We're working on that. I think Scott had mentioned he was hopeful that we might get something, at least a response to the
You have
email.
nothing today, I'll email it again tomorrow and say, any response, hoping for Wednesday's meeting.
So,
When did it go out?
Friday.
Yeah, give it a few days.
yeah.
Well, there's a few people on the list and sometimes there's a couple of them are a little bit faster.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And that communication, that comes through the superintendent's office, so that's, I know, Callie is just helping us. Try to get those answers, but Bill is working that.
The office wants to review the response as well. They've been pretty involved with responses coming out of that office, so they'll want to review anything before it gets sent out.
Yep. All right.
Then the other one, and I forwarded to Phil and Jim regarding the early childhood grades. We're working with other districts that are considering this as well, where it's pretty popular across the state, specifically Southington. They're putting forth a pre-K to 5 school in a grant this June. And they had already submitted because we raised the question the birth to 5 we're not sure what the impact is. The state of Connecticut already responded to them as saying that with regards to that that the bonuses for students that fall within the age range that are part of the early childhood care program, it's not necessarily to have to include students prior to 3 years old, and that's in writing from Heather Pettit of the grants division, OGA. So if it's students within that range, that's the determination we received literally just on February 25th of this year. So that's a very new response in that regard.
So I might have missed a piece of that, Chuck. You're saying
Threes and fours.
threes and fours?
It's threes and fours.
Okay.
You can just see 5 by September 1st. And if you're not 5 by September 1st, then the 5 could be included in that as well.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions for Chuck before we move on by his specific agenda item?
I have a question on the work group. Where is that? The Wednesday.
That's the Zoom, that's Adam, myself, and Phil meeting with Scott at Colliers, just to keep it okay.
When am I gonna attend that? I have availability.
That we run at the quorum.
No, still 3, not 30.
Yeah, that is true.
As long as there's no other members that want to attend, it's up to you. Sure.
Let's, let me circle back with that.
I checked, I will.
Okay. Yeah, whatever moves this along, the purpose of that is really just make sure that they have what they need to keep this rolling along, so, I don't think it's too unwieldy. Okay. All right. Chuck. Hold on for, you're able to stay on for a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. Take your time. Take your time.
Good, because there's 1 or 2 things we'd like your input on later on in the agenda.
No problem.
All right. So moving on, let's go back to old business then. Item 6A, communications. Mail number 2, first item. Lisa, you still with us?
Yeah,
Beautiful.
I'm right here. Yeah,
Mailing.
the mailer went out this week, so I think people should get it probably Wednesday or Thursday.
Perfect.
So, and I ended up, and I know last time we kept some because we wanted to hand them out at events, but I just decided to send them all out because I do think that, so for example, I got 2. I do think, we had talked about this a little bit, that sometimes they end up doubled up. And so I thought, well, maybe if they have more, and obviously some people didn't get them. So maybe if we give them a little extra, then maybe that would increase the odds that everybody would actually get a mailer. So we don't have any on reserve. They all went to the post office. And like I said, we should be getting them this week. The town should get them this week.
Can you just send along the digital distribution of that so that we can post it online as well?
Yeah.
Can you send a copy of that to Phil and myself so that we can?
I can't. I mean, what we did last time was I just kind of reformatted the first one. I could, I guess I could just reformat this one and send that to Phil. Yeah, or maybe I'll update the last one to edit it with the new information we have on there. Yeah.
I don't care how she does it, whatever
gets
is there that.
Okay.
Send it to me as a JPEG or a PDF and I'll put it out there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I'll just make it so that it's the links are interactive in it. Or clickable.
Perfect. Thank you, Lisa. And
Yeah.
that was a much quicker timeline than the last one, so I don't know what you did, but it's working.
Yes, and I mean, they were able to turn it around pretty quick. The CMM, I can't remember. So that was very helpful.
Excellent. All right, so we'll put in your mailboxes, everybody, coming soon.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
All right, next up, day 2, professional assistance, marketing and public relations. So this follows up our discussion from last week. The Monday? Yeah, last Monday, Adam jumped right on that, talking to Tall Timbers, who we had prior discussions with. We have a proposal from Tall Timbers. In hand here for public relations assistance and community outreach assistance. Which I did forward to Scott at Colliers. Justin had a brief conversation at the tail end of the meeting with Tecton, last Friday. And the timing is the concern again on this, and it basically comes through in Paul Timbers' email. Their concern is time frame, and they think they need like a 4 to 6 month window to really sustain that effort, and that. I'll put words in Scott's mouth, but he concurred with that this is something that. If we have the ability to extend the duration, this might be advantageous for us as really a better community engagement campaign. But it's unlikely to be overly effective in the 2.5 to 3 month window that we are currently operating under. And that it might be more advantageous just to continue our efforts with the assistance of Tecton and their community engagement and outreach as part of their design process. Chuck, I don't know whether if you've had a significant amount of experience with engaging like a public relations and marketing company to assist in that community outreach. And
I have not, in full transparency, Jim.
that's fair. So, but we do have a cost for what that type of effort and what their scoping recommendation.
It's on a 4 to 6 months.
That's based on 4 to 6 months, yeah.
Yeah, still only have a month, that is a fraction of cost.
I don't think they have the ability to turn around and engage.
Well, I mean, they're not gonna be engaging as much
Yeah.
then, because they don't have the opportunity, but we need better engagement than we have right now. I don't. It's not great.
Well, that's a question for you, Adam.
What's that? What's the question? Sorry.
If, because it says for 4 to 6 months, costs they have here, but we only have a month or 2 to work with.
Well, that's a decision,
You know,
that's a decision that has to be made. Right, so Ira is, from my engagement with him, he's had a lot of successful referendums. His biggest fear is that we are jamming things down the public's throat in a short period of time to make a decision. And what he stated is he understands the implications that could come from the reimbursable rates. But with the bonds over a 20-year, it's pennies on the dollar that would affect the townspeople. Okay, and what he's saying to me is that we need more time to get the community's input and to develop options. And if you lose $4 million, it's not the end of the world.
It's significantly more than that.
Okay, well,
All I can calculate what that is.
all I can tell you is, and I don't disagree, that the townspeople need time. And we need time to present the options to the townspeople with our consultants, and the townspeople need time to communicate their questions, their thoughts. All the questions and thoughts they have, that we can give back the responses to be able to come to referendum with everybody agreeing on the same thing. Okay, because there's a quiet time, which I'm not sure if we got that response with the blackout period, where we can't really have a lot of discussions, right? So you're,
Only factual.
okay. Well, I'm after reaching out, I reached out. This guy's a professional, this is what I'm being told, so. That's all I'm saying, you know, and I can't disagree with him that. Us as a community. Need a little time to make a decision. As a whole. Then, and I mean, we also need to understand the cost implications that come with that time. That it may not be such a, you know, it might not be that 500 and change reimbursable rate per square foot. Maybe it's 480, maybe it's 460, I don't know what that number would be, and that's what we need to understand. But that is what the professional is telling me.
So did he give you the sense that he was only comfortable engaging with the 4 to 6 month time frame? Adam?
I don't believe that's true, and he said he would do anything, he's actually taken the time to go out and watch our videos and watch our committee and meetings. And, you know.
I have two thoughts. Number one, we have had some talk about the referendum in November. I don't know where that stands or when that decision will be made. That would give us the 4 to 6 months if that did happen. The second thing is, Jim, did you get a chance to talk to Tecton? Did they think they might be able to come up with working with Scott and colleagues together, come up with a plan
So
if we did do the referendum in June this spring?
if I'm not mistaken, we haven't gotten into scheduling a specific community engagement with them in any way, shape, or form yet, but I believe. We talked about getting out for a first initial. Trying to schedule something from an initial public information session early, not necessarily even with Tecton, but more like this is where we are at in the process. I think. This schedule has us developing that community engagement once Tecton has their feet under them. Admittedly, they've only kicked off 3 days ago, so. Yes, it's on the agenda to rapidly figure that out. This, I think, is. I'm not quite sure how this integrates with yet with their commitment, just because we haven't had Tecton on board long enough to understand how they would like to engage or what they recommend. I do think we need to get a handle on that and how these interrelate before we commit to something like this.
When do we estimate we'll have the square footage breakdown of that? Because that's gonna have an impact on this, whether it's gonna be. Do we have to have it in June, or are we able to push it later? We're able to push it later.
That question is in, I believe, right now. Is that question into the OGA?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
The question about when referendum has to happen?
Yeah, for the square footage impact.
Well, if they don't get into when our referendum happens, it's our decision, but the impact of the updated regulations changing the square foot reimbursement rate. Those questions are out there to OGA as of Friday, and previously, I think, but, we're trying to get an answer on that as quickly as they'll respond and provide some definitive guidance.
Because that'll give clarity on whether or not we can shift or have the option at least to the cost impact.
Yeah, I mean. Yes, is the answer. We have to get there.
There was some talks of having the application in by the June 30th, but we didn't have to go in for referendum until a later time. We had November. Chuck, I don't know if you can comment on that, but I do remember hearing that the application would have to go in by the June 30th date, but the referendum could happen 4 to 6 months later. Is that true?
Yeah, just to clarify, the statute 10-283 for grant applications for referendum towns allows you to submit a grant application by the June 30th of, we'll just say, of 26, as long as the governing body and board of selectmen votes and votes to hold a referendum and report the results no later than November 15th of this year. So by statute, you can hold it in November and submit for this June. We had noted, I think we noted in our interview, the projects start in earnest on funding authorization, AKA referendum. That's when everything's eligible. So what the grant application does is, and you have a little bit more, I think I have to look at your legislative language, but basically what the grant application does is establishes once you're on a priority list, when you can start getting reimbursed for a project. So, the application doesn't start the project, your funding authorization does in that regard. So if you pass referendum, say if you decide, hey, we're going to submit next June, I'm not saying you will, and you pass referendum, your committee can start selecting design services, OPM services, et cetera, start the design process. That's all eligible. You can submit in June of 27. The only difference, you wouldn't be on the priority list until December of 27, requesting reimbursement until roughly June of 28. That's where the difference comes into play, is the cash flow to the town. So that's a discussion that come into play.
So it's the referendum itself that maintains the eligibility for reimbursement for design.
That's what starts your clock in reality. What's nice about submitting in June of 26 and referendums, if you did it in November, is that passes successfully, you're going to see the priority list by December 15th, essentially a month after you pass referendum. Once you're on the list, we have not seen a project get taken off the list. Not to say it can't, but we have never seen it happen. Politically, it is probably not advisable from the state side of things. Once you're on the priority list, you're going to get a grant commitment. We haven't seen anybody come off. But what it does, it gives you a higher sense of confidence that the reimbursement coming from the state of Connecticut is very, very likely.
So, and then it comes into play with, how that, what our communication ability is, we can provide factual information once that referendum scheduled. But we need to gauge what the best mechanism is, to inform the town of this project, of whatever project is being proposed. Our ability to hold meetings, then becomes non-existent, and it becomes kind of how do we engage effectively with the community after we schedule a referendum, which is my bigger concern. So
The response from OGA is really, in my eyes, what's gonna either give you time or tell you, you gotta get rocking. And looking at the marketing and communication plan section of this, I don't think you'd have time to do those things for if we have to apply for June. If you were planning on applying in June and extending this work with factual information through, we'll say August, and November's your latest point, right? So then your referendum could be earlier than that, but you do want to make sure people are comfortable with the project, and doing that after you've submitted the grant application just seems risky to me.
Yeah, I mean, if for say they choose, like we poll the town, get the voters input, and there's 3 options. Keep building things as they are. Option A and option B. Well, we put forward A and everyone wants B. Well,
Right.
that's not good.
And you need that in 4 weeks. And, all right, I mean, that's the
That
reality.
gentleman did say that. He said that you would have about a month to communicate.
Yeah.
He basically had a month, and he said, I may not be able to help, but
Right.
this is available if and when you make a decision.
Yeah.
And if that decision is, we're gonna have the time to push the schedule a little bit and communicate with the townspeople more, then here this is, and I can help you. And I'm totally fine with letting him know that we are still waiting for some answers and we're digesting to make a decision. And I appreciate him taking the time to put this together for our community. And we can see where this goes. This is obviously a decision that happens today, and there's a lot to base on that, but he does provide a service to help communicate and send surveys and such, so
We need that.
it's here.
Yeah, if we have the response from OGA within 2 weeks, and we really have a sense of where the ed spec is, you'll have a rough square footage number. which gives you a rough order of magnitude cost. You're gonna know at that point where it falls, if the legislation, what Chuck just said, and he's budgeting the 450 range, if it's above that, you have to figure out if you're gonna press and go. If it's below that, then you can slow down and buy you time. And then I think for sure, you look at a communication with someone that, and then help you with the communication plan and coordinates with Colliers. Tecton and the district, because all those things, in the committee.
Yeah, cash flow we can work around, we can work with. I think having the ability to stretch out, even if it does mean a grant application is in the 14th, 30th of 2027. Instead, even if we're holding a referendum long before that. I think the important piece, I think, is voter approval. Right. Prior to us saying we're trying to submit a project for grant application.
Hey, Chuck,
Yes, sir.
grant applications are due by, we'll call it June 30th, even though it's not really June 30th of each year. But you could, if the school building committee did their work, they're on their time frame, they were able to slow down. They decide all the work's been done by August, they've got the community feedback. And they wanted to go to referendum and they have the referendum approval. They can apply at any time, right? But they won't get a response until June 30th, or we'll call it fall of 27, fall of 27, right?
Yeah, if you waited after this June 30th, that's just the deadline. You can submit at any time. You would not know for sure if you're on the priority list, aka getting a grant commitment, until basically December of 27 is when you'd know. So if you did a referendum in November, we would basically be almost complete with the design of the building before you know if you're on the priority list. You'd probably be about 80% through the design on that. That's kind of the important aspect. And Scott and I, we can lay that out to kind of show you how far along are you, what's that cash flow up to that point where you have that high degree of certainty, if you will, with the priority list, to go, okay, hey, what are we going to be carrying for costs until, and then that's the priority list. Then you're another probably 6 months until you actually have a grant commitment from the state of Connecticut.
Your July 128 shovel on the ground is really where you're at.
Yeah, that makes sense. We can lay that out on a timeline so it's clearer. We're talking verbally here, for that. So
the timeline, the rush of the timeline is really in response to the change in legislation and the limit on cost per square foot. That was the rush of this timeline.
Right.
If that no longer exists, this committee, even if it's more work for all of us, can slow down to make sure the community engagement is what it needs to be. Ralph's point in the beginning, right? That we have, because people are not watching the videos. I might be 10 views of the 40 that are watching stinking videos, right? When I go back on and I want to watch to see what's something, those 10 things count. So to get that type of plan out there and done well, we're really hoping to buy time, but if we cannot, and it is truly going to cost the community $15 million more. Yes, I understand the cost of the bond, but that 15 million turns into 30 in the cost of the bond over 20 or 30 years. That is significant. And we want to make sure we don't lose a project by not responding. So if we can wait, if you think as a committee, you can wait a couple weeks to respond, which I think you can, it's just within 2 weeks, what would he really be able to accomplish in the time frame to have it, if you do have to apply in June?
He made that very clear.
Yeah.
Right. He made that clear.
So why don't I recommend, Adam, if you have the ability to just follow up with him?
Yeah.
Directly and just say, hey, look, we are working on getting some answers in the next couple of weeks. We are interested, but need a little bit more certainty, and then we'll leave this on the agenda table to discuss over the next couple of meetings, hopefully when we have some degree of better certainty and where we're headed. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Sounds like it. Sounds good.
And if I get that information, as soon as I get a response, I'm gonna forward it out.
Yep. All right. So we will table that one and it'll stay on for continuing discussion. Karen. All right. So next up is town boards and stakeholders. Part of this communication, we need to. We talked about joint meeting with the Board of Ed. That is specific really to ed specs. I mentioned to Mike at some point, whether it's with Tecton or with others, I'd like to get in front of the Board of Selectmen and just provide them a general update on where they're at, not that we have he's here as a resident. I know they're paying attention, and Mike obviously is. But I think it still would be advantageous to kind of get out and just provide updates to both boards, for the other boards that are gonna have a part of this process. I know it's budget season, so I hesitate to say Board of Finance until they kind of get past that hump, but I think we need to come up with like a way of engaging, even if it's just myself as chair going before them and saying, this is where we are in the process. You know, if you have any questions, we're happy to engage. We can make it a regular occurrence. I don't care. You know, I'm happy to do whatever is necessary. And then ultimately, Chuck, we'll probably, I lost your schedule in my pile here. But at some point along the way, we're gonna have more focused and dedicated outreach with other boards in town, I imagine. So.
Yeah, I know Scott, you know, again, on the, I'll say the compressed timeline, identified some potential, public outreach, public presentation meetings, one late about a month from now, another one about 5 weeks from now. But then Board of Selectmen presentation of, you know, options in mid to late May. So, yeah, he's identified those as, you know, potentials, but obviously, the news from the state may change that.
Yep. All right, without objection, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Continue to just send an outreach to the selectmen and Board of Finance, at least those chairs. And just say, hey, we're welcome to provide an update. Let you know where we're at, just keep in the loop. And hope for your engagement as we continue to advance these efforts.
Would we going to have a board meeting?
I think eventually, but I think it's, yes, we will. Ultimately, I'm sure. I don't think we're there quite yet.
You're saying any chance, for me, any chance you get to speak and present to speak as chair of this committee.
Yeah.
To provide an update to any group that it matters to, I think you should do it. Until the short. Well, I mean,
And I'm happy to, so.
I mean, present to speak, even if it's not present to speak, sending a quick paragraph, like, here's what we're working on currently, it doesn't have to go into great detail, but at least they have it, because the more you're in front of the public.
I do think there's having an agenda item so that you're on the agenda, people are aware that there is going to be at least some update or discussion is also helpful as well, because I'm just showing up for present to speak.
Yeah,
You know,
true.
but I'm happy to work however they want, so I'll reach out, this week, I'll reach out to the selectmen and the board, the chairs of the selectmen of the Board of Finance. And just say, hey, look, we're hoping to engage you guys and happy to come in and just give you an update and see what they recommend.
Maybe we have to do that. Agenda.
We'll leave it up to them, but I don't know when their next meeting is, but Board of Finance is Thursday.
It's a big meeting.
It's a big one. We're not getting in front of Board of Finance this Thursday. They're working for 3 hours. But again, through the conversation with Board of Finance, I'm sure they'd be amenable to special meetings if needed or if they have. So, I think the important part is just engagement. So I will reach out, and when I have that scheduled, I will let you all know, if you want to be in attendance or join and speak up, yeah. All right. Also following up, next up, other community outreach considerations. We spoke about Bill compiling a list of potential groups and opportunities for engaging with the public. I still don't do this, but yes, that's okay. Mike had to leave, but we'd also talked about that. We started a conversation about creating a dedicated Facebook page for committee interaction, and I think it just got lost in the shuffle. So I will follow up with Mike again to see what those next steps are, because we do not have the prior school building committee page is no longer in existence, so it'll be just getting something set up again. So that when we post the flyers and any other outreach online, it's coming from the school building committee. And they have a dedicated place that they can respond to as well. So I will follow up with Mike on that as well.
Jim, can I comment?
Oh, you're on. Hi, Mike.
I've been on. There's a little bit of a thing being worked out with IT on that security wise, because the Facebook page has to be tied to a town email address. And that was part of the delay in getting the town's Facebook page corrected and tied to my email address. So that is in process, but I'm going to put a reminder on that for tomorrow and I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Fast. There is an upcoming within a couple weeks, I think relatively large event that I've never been to, hosted by the Cub Scouts. That is the Easter egg hunt. That I believe we have lots of people that attend. Is what I've been told. Is that true?
Yeah, my kids are there every year.
Yes. If it's large, we should probably have some presence. It's the scouts. One is the egg the house. What's the one is the Easter egg?
Yeah, they went on the fire department.
The fire department, yes, that's what I'm looking for. If that's happening. And you have the ability to just have some presence there, you're trying to get in front of people.
Table.
That's the Willington Hill Fire Department, and I'm adding to the list for tomorrow. Jim, I'll get you in touch with the chairman onto that.
Thank you.
Really wants to dress up.
Adam's gonna be our buddy. Yeah.
Adam will be the contact.
No, I was saying Adam will be our Easter bunny.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm just trying to make sure I'm tracking things through my little phone at home here.
All right, thank you, Mike. All right, anything else? When you have that list, just share, and we'll continue to add to it.
Yeah.
And we'll start to, we'll probably want a group of people to kind of start to plan around some of these events. Or let's get the list and we'll strategize at our next meeting.
I'm willing to day two, going a little further.
Yeah.
Memorial Day weekend.
All right.
It's gonna be close to that.
Yep. Oh yeah, we'll hit up every opportunity we can, just a matter of finding ways to get there. All right. Moving on. All right, administrative needs, 6B, contract status and approvals. So Mike, I'm glad you're back, because here we go. First up, owner's project manager, Chuck. We've had some back and forth with Scott. That contract development is, I think, back in Collier's hands, just to provide updates based on some comments. And hopefully will be resolved soon.
Yeah, so I just him and don't foresee any problem getting those resolved in a quick manner. I told Scott we just got to send through the mods through our we have like a legal process software we use. Just got to send it through them, but I don't see any of those being major hurdles whatsoever.
Perfect. Yeah, I didn't think so either.
Easy.
So Mike, so that's gonna come. What's the next step on that, Chuck? You guys are gonna send an updated draft to Mike's office or selectman?
Yeah. So once we revise that, our legal blesses it, we'll send it back over through the town. And hopefully, if there's
I'll get right on it.
exceptions there, we can execute and move forward.
Beautiful. All right, well, thank you. We're getting close.
Getting there.
Thanks for working along the way.
Not a problem.
All right, moving on to architectural engineering services. Mike, you said that letter of intent went out this afternoon? Officially?
Yes, that's correct. Letter of intent to Tecton.
All right, so on both of these items, guys, the big question I have is with those letters of intent and or contract engagement underway with Colliers, I am going to notify all of the other respondents to our solicitations and just reach out to them officially, because I was kind of waiting for the letter of intent for Tecton to go out, but I'm
They
gonna,
responded. Responded affirmatively.
yes. So I'm gonna reach out to, all the other firms and just, let them know that the decisions have been made and to thank them for their time. And that their efforts are appreciated. Sound good? All right. And then phase one, ESA, we talked about a little bit earlier. Mike, did you execute that already?
I found the email you were talking about, and I had, well, I explained it in my email response to you, but I'll resolve it in the morning.
Okay, sounds good. So that is almost, that looks like that'll be resolved tomorrow, and then Chuck, you and Scott will reach out and just get that scheduled, right?
Absolutely. Just let us know. We'll take care of it from there.
Yep. All right. That's it. So we're well underway. All right, next up, SBC financial report. We did have a request from the business office for an update. We did not get it back, so I will again continue to push. And we will try to get something for our next meeting. If not the joint meeting, then
If not, I'll pull, if we don't, we know what our expenditures will have been from the receipts and the contracts. I'll just put it to an Excel, just so you have something to, as a note. So she has the ability to.
Yeah, so the questions there are just, updating the balance to incorporate both the original funds that the committee had access to and the notes that were approved down meeting to supplement that, and then making sure that the list of encumbrances is all captured. So we haven't spent much beyond the mailing, the whole deed transfer, and the that's it, actually. So we've encumbered the phase one environmental site assessment, we've encumbered consultants, the consultants, both Colliers and now Tecton. We are well under where we need to be currently, so there's no concerns. I just want to make sure that it's leaving it accurate.
And I have another question. In next year's budget, will we able to put another million in CIP funds for the school building committee? We've been collecting the million a year.
It is
The phrase.
for discussion again on Thursday, but it is currently in the
So far,
plan. Correct,
Okay, very good.
At 1 million right now.
correct, yeah, it was reduced, their request had been raised to 1.25, we reduced it back to the 1 million to stay on that original $1 million per year here,
Thank you.
so. All right. And committee email accounts. Mike asked me to confirm that all of you received your emails, because I only sent them to the town accounts. Did everybody get it?
I'll look right now.
Yes, I did.
Lisa, I think you were the only one who had issues last week or hadn't received that email. Did you get this information tonight?
I did.
All right, wonderful. Mike, I sent it to the email you gave me and that you already had set up for the board of ed. Okay.
I'll check it out.
Mike, I think you're now off the hook. We got everybody set up on this, so thank you.
Thank you, and I apologize for the miscommunication in our office. I was quite sure they were all resolved, but now they are.
Beautiful. All right, That's it for administrative needs. Item 6C, operational impact considerations for consolidation. This is just old business. It's a placeholder. You are not there yet, I'm sure, Phil, because you're worrying about current budget. But it is, we'll keep it as a placeholder, as a reminder. It'll be important to flesh out over the next couple of months. That's generally it for this agenda, ladies and gentlemen. Assignments. Just to go through the list, so. I am gonna reach out to the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance to engage them, figuring out a way to get an update. Mike, you're gonna follow up regarding the Facebook issue.
Correct.
We are gonna coordinate the phase 1 ESA execution, which is great. And I will reach out to all of our prior respondents and just give them notice that we have made decisions.
I'll be reaching out to Ira to just let them know to sit tight while we wait for some OGA responses and some further discussion amongst the committee.
Digital timbers.
Do you think, in the meantime, just thinking about that? Should we just check a couple references for Ira, so that way we're ready to rock if we do go that way?
Should have. He should have provided, I think, if not, I can get him for him.
I would usually just reach out to those people and just make a quick phone call and say, hey, how was this?
And with John Mansfield.
You check with Mansfield, which.
Right.
really
Farmington.
recent.
Yeah, it would be a bad idea.
And if you want me to do that, it's a superintendent, I'm glad to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Depending who it is,
Sure.
depends on who they've worked with.
I don't remember seeing any in there, but you might have.
It might be in the.
I thought it was in the first one.
That was the first.
It was the first packet that we had last week. It was in.
It was the list of projects though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it was in last week.
Necessarily,
It was in last week's, when we were looking at it.
Yeah.
That's where it was.
All right, so Adam, you'll. I guess track that down and go coordinate.
I'll track it down and make sure they're start getting it over to Phil with their contact references.
Yeah, I can follow up with just say, hey, well, how was the experience?
Yeah.
Okay,
And if it's
I
a
will-
referendum,
I will get that over.
It's always good to check.
And Jeremy, you're gonna send me any updates or Adam's comments on the property list that I can forward up to Scott?
Yep.
Dollars, perfect. Did I miss anything?
The Wednesday work.
Yes.
I had one other question for the TechCom visit to HMS. Doesn't say when, but could I just like to be involved in that? I mean, very close.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, I think one of our respondents took over your backyard. In their proposals. Bill, that's, all right, Bill's coordinating that through Scott. It's really Tecton to give them a familiarity with the existing hall building and how. Those spaces are used, so I don't know what you need for coordination on that. Or quite frankly, if it's something that makes sense.
You either open it or you don't. And my feeling is no. you
Yeah.
don't open it. If you're gonna open to the committee, I always use caution too, or a parent in that building, I'd say walk, but you're not yet, right? You're elementary still.
Yeah.
That's your, Jim, you can, if you're, as soon as you open it up. And other people wanna walk,
Yeah, so it's not necessarily a meeting, it's them performing their due diligence and getting comfortable with.
now we're walking the school.
Yeah, no, I know you
We're
are.
walking at the spaces where there's children,
Yeah,
and I'm not. It's because I think it's gonna be 7:30 in the morning.
I think we'll have plenty of opportunities to engage with TechCon. I think this is just them doing their due diligence on understanding how you guys perform instruction within the spaces and all still currently. And just familiarizing themselves with the building, they haven't been in it yet, so. I kind of defer to you, Phil, and just say. Get them what they need, so that it's really about driving the inspect, so that they understand how you do the space and how
That's me, I just have to always be cautious about confidentiality. And when there's kids in the building, Adam, that's,
Yeah.
that's a third piece of that I just want to be very tight.
Have you, is that officially scheduled yet? With them?
They send 2 times, and so I responded back to see if they want to walk. It's either like 11 o'clock or 7:30.
Okay,
So,
Soon Thursday, yes.
good thing to see.
that's thanks for now done.
Watch the cars whiz by.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to see.
I say if I'm not able to attend, then I would like to review it from an engineering standpoint. The facility,
You and I can walk that building whenever you want, outside of kids. Yeah. For sure. And I'm glad to do that within small groups for the SBC. If, as long as you don't have a forum, if you have not seen the building and you want to walk it in small groups, as long as you don't have a forum, I'm glad to do that with you. I just don't want to do that when there's children. Respect.
So if everybody else wants in, then that's in the bill.
I would like to get in town, and I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I just saw the basic always.
Yeah.
Right?
I will, walk there.
I can do the afternoon too. Cool.
Yeah, you guys can coordinate directly with Phil, who's
I'm just, Lisa or Pete or Sam, is there any interest from you?
For walking the building?
So, yeah, you've seen it from a parent perspective.
Right.
I've seen the boilers and
If you wanna see the guts of the building, I'm glad to do that. If you don't care,
Now, I feel like I've gotten a good dose of both buildings over the years, so I'm good. Thank you, though.
then I'll just schedule with 2 you guys, we can figure out a time. to-
Yeah, I just seen it as a parent perspective.
Yep. I will do that. I'll reach out
Phil,
to you. Sam,
I think I walked the schools already when I first joined the Board of Ed.
I think so too.
Yeah, so I'm okay. Thank you.
I did.
Same here, Phil. I think we've been in the basement. We've been all over the place in that school.
All right.
So I'm pretty good too. I think I've seen it over the years, both of them, pretty well. But thank you.
All right, so Phil, you'll follow with that and then Jeremy. Perfect. All right. Any other thoughts for tasks? Otherwise, that's it for tonight. And it looks like it's snowing, so that's wonderful.
It's supposed to be 50 tomorrow.
But the temperature has gone up to 45 degrees.
All right. All right, Chuck, before we lose you, anything else on your end?
No, sir. No, it's good to see all of you this evening. I'll pass along notes to Scott Pellman, and we'll just keep pushing hard and getting it done.
Beautiful. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming tonight, Chuck, and
Thank
thanks for
you.
your time.
Pleasure.
All right, everybody. So without further ado, I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn at 8:55 PM.
I'll second.
Seconded by Adam Brewer. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pete? Aye.
Aye,
Okay.
aye.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see y'all. Send an agenda out for Monday's joint meeting once I coordinate that with Phil.
The name, I didn't see, so just see that one.
All right, thank you, everybody.
recommendations.
I don't think.